Welcome back, MTG Joe here, and today we are going to be looking at some day one decks for the new standard. Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, Destiny, one of the two, has officially come out on Arena, and while we don't have huge sample population of new decks being played and the win rates, I can at least give you an idea of some things that are being tried out by folks on the ladder. So if you are new to this, we do a weekly segment here on the channel where we look at the top performing decks in the meta for Standard, Alchemy, and Historic, best of 1 and best of 3. So those usually come out Monday and Tuesday, depending on the format. And what we do to source all this data is look at Untapped GG. It's a companion tool that runs alongside your Arena client, tracks your win rates, that helps kind of compose these metrics. Also suggests you decks based on your wildcard collections, cards you own, and it's got a lot of kind of in-game useful elements. It's free to get started with it. The link is in the video description down below. Now, normally what we do is we look at Platinum to Mythic for a week, and for Standard it's usually about 60 to 100,000 games, if not more. We're just looking February 10th to 11th right now. It's a very small sample population, even going Bronze to Mythic, so by all means, these aren't tier 1 decks necessarily. Don't go out and necessarily craft everything if you're still unsure. This is just to give you some ideas of what folks are trying. If you do have the cards, if you want to give it a shot, or if it's kind of give you an idea. I'm going to kind of highlight decks with new cards in it. Right now, there's just the folks playing like established deck, like Mono White Aggro, 75% win rate. They're just bullying people in best of 1. There's not enough sample population right now in best of 3. Oh, do we? We can take a look, but it looks like these are all stock lists. Just quickly. Yeah, so best of 3, we're going to have to wait a couple days. Hopefully by the end of the weekend, we are good. But jumping into it, I'm kind of going in cascading order for the decks with the highest win rates. Before we get started, as always, if you do enjoy this type of content on meta, it's greatly appreciated if you can drop a like and comment on the video. Help support the channel for free, and if you haven't done so already, consider subscribing for meta videos, gameplay videos, anything like that, or an Arena. So jumping into it, Orzhov Tokens, kind of the Orzhov shells, which have been very popular thus far in Standard. Only 130 games, but right now the sample population is not the largest, 60% win rate. So if we're looking at the deck, we're just going to kind of focus on what's kind of new, what we're looking at. But these decks are basically Wedding Announcement, Meathook decks, some Learn package, sack value with Deadly Dispute. We see Dockside Chef, 2 of in this deck. It's basically the Merchant at 3 mana, replacing that. 1 mana does 1/2 does basically the same thing in terms of drawing cards. So it just plays you lower on the curve. Notably with this, we're not playing Eye Twitch anymore in this version. If we look at the split of removal, it's still 4 Rites, 4 Vanishing Verse. We have 1 Sorin, 1 Lolth, 1 Edgar, 1 Legion Angel. I believe Croakies was playing a deck very similar to this. You're still on your Wedding Announcements, but then we're seeing the Restoration of Eiganjo. Yeah, I'm going to screw up names on this. So search for a plains, put in your hand. You may discard a card. When you do, return target permanent with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your battlefield. Seems really good with like the Learn package of Professor. Even just getting back like Dockside Chef, stuff like that. Even just like a Meathook for 0 can work. Then you flip it and it makes tokens whenever it attacks or blocks as a 3/4 body. So pretty solid rate. One thing you'll see here, like for example, I only have 1 of the 4 in my collection right now. I don't have a whole lot of the new set just yet, but it gives you an idea what you do have, what you need. So for example, if I need to build this deck, I need 4 rares. I have 15 in my collection. Mana base wise, we do get the inclusion of some of the new legendary lands. So the black one lets you return creature planeswalker from your graveyard. The white one deals 4. And then also a copy of Roadside Reliquary, just a way to potentially draw you some extra cards out of your mana base. If you're interested in the exportable versions of these decks, I'll post them in the video description, so you can copy and paste them into Arena from there. Learn package, everything like that. Let me know as well, just in general, based on these meta, if you prefer the visual view of it like this, and me going tab by tab, versus how I usually do it, just kind of mousing over it at a high level. So next up, mono red aggro. So seen a couple different versions of this kind of deck, but 53% win rate on same sample size of games. Yeah, so close to 6% less. A couple of copies of Chandra. So what we're getting new, we got Rabbit Battery. This is part of the reconfigure theme. So it's a equipment that's also a creature when it comes. So basically 1 mana, 1/1 haste. And then for a red mana, you can basically equip it to another creature that you play out, and it gets +1/1 in haste as well. We have Ogre Head Helm. So 2 mana, 2/2, equip gets +2/2, but it in itself, whenever it or equipped creature deals combat damage to player, you may sacrifice it. If you do, discard your hand and then draw 3 cards. So in a mono red shell, this is actually a pretty good way to rebuild. The parallel will be something to Bomat Courier that we see in Historic or Pioneer or stuff like that. We see the legendary dragon at Sushi, the Blazing Sky. Flying Trample 4/4 for 4, decent stats all around, and then when it dies, you either get to play the top 2 cards of your library for the turn, or create 3 treasures to kind of ramp. I would imagine more so than anything you're using it for. It's kind of card advantage element of it. Otherwise, we also have Kumano Face Kakazan. This is just, if you ever want to make me look like a fool, say these names. So 1 mana, deal damage to opponent and Planeswalker. The next spell you cast comes in with an additional 1/1 counter, then you flip it into a 2/2 haste, that when a creature dealt damage would get exiled instead. That exile clause is actually pretty relevant against all the blood on the snow decks, just the things that are getting stuff back from the graveyard incidentally. Then it's just kind of a scattering, not shattering, of removal, play with fire, Spikefield, Shatterskull Smashing, inspiration that gives you your learn package kind of in the mix. Mountains, and Den of the Bugbears in that one. We have Rakdos midrange, so this deck's seeing quite a bit more play, relatively speaking. And if we're looking at this one, it is kind of an equipment-y sub-theme. So we have a lot of these kind of, I'm going to call them living weapons in a way. It's kind of a good parallel. If you look at Batterskull, comes in, creates a germ. This comes in as a creature, so this is a 2 mana 3/1 menace, and then equipped creature has base power and toughness 5/5, has menace, and is a black demon. So a little bit higher reconfigure cost, but it kind of buffs up all your small creatures. So if we look at something like Fireblade Charger, it would be a 5/5 that when it dies deals 5 damage. We have Lizard Blades, that's a mythic, wow. Lizard Blades itself, 2 mana, 1/1 that gives double strike, so just a way to kind of double strike. So this is kind of build your own adventure, build a big creature. Notably not trample, but double strike, so with Blood Vial Purveyor, it's kind of your top end. But this does have trample on its own, so this is a nice kind of combo. You throw on the Blood Vial with the double strike, kind of kill opponents out of nowhere. Another copy of Atushi in this, and then we have Thundering Reiju. This one lets you put a counter on a creature, and then when it attacks, deals damage to each opponent based on the number of modified creatures you have. So modified creature is something with a counter on it, with an equipment, aura, anything like that. And then we see an instance of the Black Dragon, Junji. 5 mana, 5/5, Flying Menace. When it dies, each opponent discards 2 cards and lose 2 life, or you get to put a non-dragon creature onto the battlefield from your graveyard. Abraid's actually an interesting card. There's a lot of artifacts in the format right now, so it kind of hits on 2 levels, all the vehicles, stuff like that. And then we see the red kind of legendary land that gets you some tokens. A couple copies of the black land, and just kind of pairing with that. For whatever reason, the art hasn't been imported, I guess from Scryfall that they pull the API from. So it's just pulling the newest kind of full art lands, but the mountains aren't coming through. And then we have a Abzan Enchantments list. So we're getting kind of around the 50% range in terms of win rates, but a lot of folks are playing this deck, again, relatively speaking. So we have Generous Visitor. This one here, whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a 1/1 counter on it. So just a 1/1 that grows. You have Spirited Companion, the Goodest Boy. Llanowar Visionary. 2 mana, 1/1 comes into play, draws a card, replaces itself. We have Kami of Transcience. So 2 mana, 2/2 trample. Same idea, whenever you cast an enchantment spell, it gets bigger. And then the beginning of your end step, if enchantment was put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn, you get to return Kami back to your hand. We have Jukai Naturalist. Basically just reducing the cost of your enchantment spells. Got some Catildas. And then Gloom Sheeker. So 3 mana, 2/1 menace, enchantment creature, enters the battlefield. You get to return target permanent from your graveyard to your hand. Unfortunately, it has the exile condition, so you can't just kind of loop them dying. Commune with the Spirits basically is a dig for enchantments or lands. We've seen a very similar effect like this in like Theros block and stuff like that. We have Mishiku, Reign of Truth. So creature gets a buff based on number of artifacts and enchantments for 2 chapters, and then itself is a 0/0 but gets +1/1 for each artifact and enchantment you control. Some Rangers class, some Touch the Spirit Realm, exile target artifact or creature until it leaves the battlefield, channel, discard. So you can actually blink with this, which is kind of cool. So it's like an ephemerate that's tied to also just a Oblivion Ring style effect that's specific to artifacts or creatures. We have some Hollowed Haunting as a way to make a lot of tokens and then just buff them up, and then some copies of Binding of the Old Gods. I've seen a couple lists on Twitter as well, just green-white enchantments. I'm going to give it a shot, just see what direction we want to build with this, but there's a lot of very powerful Enchantment Matters cards and these enchantment creatures, so I wouldn't be surprised if some shell kind of sees its way through. Azorius Artifacts. This is a Croaky special that I've been watching him play the last couple days. It's actually been it's a really interesting deck. So there's a lot of synergies here, but basically we see Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh. So 4 mana, 4/4. The first activated ability of an artifact you control costs 2 less each turn. So Thirst for Glory, or Thirst for Knowledge is its plus, draw 2, then discard 2 unless you discard an artifact. It animates a creature, it animates an artifact. If it's a vehicle, if it isn't a vehicle, it has base power 4/4. If it is a vehicle, it just animates it, and then you get an emblem whenever an artifact you control becomes tapped, draw a card. So this plays really interesting with the, where'd you go? Reckoner Bangbuster. Sorry, I'm a little all over with these names today, but so it enters with 3 counters on it, and then you can tap it and remove a counter from it and draw a card. With the Tezzeret ability, that's the first one you activate each turn, so it's basically tapped for 0 mana. That turn, when it has no more counters on it, you get a 1/1 that crews for 2. Crews if it was 2 greater. And then it also gives you a treasure token. So kind of card advantage, that's for free with Tezzeret, gets you some tokens, that kind of play late game. Teferi has a lot of untap shenanigans with the artifacts. We see Moonsnare Prototype. This is a way for you to kind of ramp up early game with your artifacts, and then late game you could channel just to bounce creatures to their owner's hand. We have Black Staff of Waterdeep. This is another way to animate creatures. And then Solstice, just kind of ramp shenanigans. Ingenious Smith digs you into the deeper into the deck. Mireshell Crab is used as a counter spell. I think there's currently a bug where it allows you to reduce the cost of its channel ability to only 1 right now if you have Tezzeret out. Technically, based on like ruling from judges and stuff, this shouldn't take place, but Arena lets you do it right now, so that's likely something will be addressed in the next patch. Lion Sash just to eat graveyards. We see March of the Otherworldly Light just as a way to exile creatures, artifacts, enchantments, and then some counterspell that taps the artifact. You got some Doom Scars to kind of wrap you up. So this deck has got a 50% win rate overall, but Croaky's was something like 18-2 versus non-mono green decks, and then 1-4 versus mono green. So this deck's been putting up, it's probably a tougher deck to play. That's why we're seeing the win rates. And then lastly, Azorius Control, just wanted to kind of highlight this one. 50% win rate at 100 matches. We see the Wanderer Emperor. This one's not loading the art. The Wandering Emperor. We'll pull this up. This is the Flash. So it has Flash as a Planeswalker, which is actually a really cool kind of interaction. And then you can activate its ability if it entered the turn. You get to put a counter on something, gets first strike on the turn, make a Vigilance Samurai, or exile target tapped creature. So you could kind of ambush a Viper in your opponent's attack phase, lets you play draw go kind of style. And we're seeing here just kind of blue-white control. We have a Faithbound Judge, Hullbreakers, Sunset Revelries, Doom Scars. Don't think it's playing any other new cards other than the Wandering Emperor. Interesting to see no copies of March of the Otherworldly Light, just as additional removal spell. You are playing Planeswalkers here, but with all the artifacts as well. Devastating Mastery. I like that card in the blue-white control decks, so it's another kind of option there. But those are the decks for the first day that I saw. Like, nothing else really jumped out. We're kind of going into the dumpster tier. If you're going lower, sorry for the quick, like 48% Azorius Control. Dimir Ninjas, if you're looking at ninjas, have been putting up terrible win rates. 48%, Jeskai Artifacts 38, Ninjas 34. And then we're just kind of in the not enough sample size range to really make an informed decision. But I wanted to get out some deck lists today. I know folks usually look for some kind of ideas the first couple days. Like I said, I'll post all these in the deck lists in the video description. But if you can, like I said, drop a like, comment, and subscribe on the video. It goes a long way to helping out the channel for free. And we'll catch you probably Monday or Tuesday with the full meta breakdown, as many formats as I can, given the available data with the new set coming out. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great one, and stay safe out there.